It all started about 3 years ago when I entered into a committed throuple relationship. For those unfamiliar, a throuple is a romantic relationship between 3 people. It's been a source of happiness and fulfillment for me, something I cherish deeply. At the same time, I've always been an open-minded person, comfortable with my sexuality and body. This led me to join a social media platform that caters to adults who enjoy discussing and sharing NSFW, not safe for work, content. It's a space where I felt free to express myself without judgment. I was always careful, though. I never showed my face in any pictures, never mentioned my job, and kept my personal and professional lives strictly separate. I didn't have any reason to believe this would ever become an issue at work, especially since our company doesn't have a morality clause in our contracts. Life was good. I was happy in my relationship, content with my job, and felt I had a healthy outlet for my more mature interests. But then Jake entered the picture. Jake is a 34-year-old coworker who's always been a bit too friendly for my liking. Despite knowing I wasn't interested, he would often make suggestive comments and flirt with me. It made me uncomfortable, but I tried to brush it off as harmless workplace banter. Little did I know, Jake would soon become the catalyst for a series of events that would turn my world upside down. Somehow, he stumbled upon my profile on the adult social media platform. I still don't know how he found it or why he was even on that site, but the damage was done. Jake, in what I can only describe as a malicious act, took screenshots of my posts and decided to report me to our. His accusation? Unbecoming internet activity that could potentially damage the company's reputation. When I got called into a meeting with HR, I was terrified. My heart was pounding, my palms were sweaty, and I felt like I was going to be sick. I couldn't believe this was happening. All I could think about was losing my job over something that was completely separate from my work life. To my immense relief, HR took a reasonable stance after reviewing the posts. They noted that because my face wasn't visible in any of the content and there was nothing that identified the company, it wasn't their concern. They deemed it my own personal business, which is exactly what it was. I left that meeting feeling a mix of relief and anger. Even though I had been cleared of any wrongdoing, I felt utterly humiliated. My private life had been dragged into the workplace, put under a microscope, and judged. The fact that Jake had tried to get me in trouble over something that had absolutely nothing to do with him or our work infuriated me. I couldn't shake the feeling of violation, of having my personal boundaries completely disregarded. As I sat at my desk, still fuming from the whole ordeal, I started thinking about Jake. I knew he was married, and there had always been rumors floating around the office about him cheating on his wife with another woman in our company. At that moment, something snapped inside me. I decided I wasn't going to let this go. If Jake wanted to dig into my private life, then perhaps it was time for him to face the consequences of his own actions. Instead of going back to HR, which I felt wouldn't really solve anything, I decided to take matters into my own hands. It wasn't a decision I made lightly, but in that moment, consumed by anger and a desire for justice, it felt like the right thing to do. I found Jake's wife on social media and created an anonymous account. Then, I gathered all the screenshots of Jake's inappropriate messages to me and information about his alleged affair. But I didn't stop there. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to search for Jake on the very same adult social media platform he had deemed unbecoming. To my shock, but not entirely to my surprise, I found not only his profile but also the profile of the woman he was rumored to be having an affair with. The hypocrisy of it all only fueled my resolve. I compiled everything, the screenshots of his messages to me, the links to his profile and his mistress' profile on the adult site, and the information about his affair. Then, I sent it all to his wife anonymously. As I hit send, I felt a mix of satisfaction and unease. Part of me knew this was crossing a line, but another part felt it was justified given what Jake had put me through. It didn't take long for the fallout to begin. Within days, word spread around the office that Jake's wife had confronted him about his infidelity and filed for divorce. The atmosphere at work became tense, with whispers and sideways glances following Jake wherever he went. He was absolutely livid, ranting about how someone had ruined his marriage and made his life a living hell. Of course, Jake suspected it was me behind the anonymous tip to his wife. He couldn't prove it, but the timing was too coincidental. He started giving me death glares across the office and making snide comments whenever he could. The once overly friendly coworker had turned into a seething ball of anger and resentment. The office became divided over the incident. Some of my coworkers thought I had gone too far, arguing that I should have just let it go after HR cleared me. They felt that involving Jake's wife and exposing his affair was an unnecessary escalation that had no place in a professional environment. These colleagues started to distance themselves from me, clearly uncomfortable with what they perceived as my vindictive behavior. On the other hand, there were those who believed Jake had gotten exactly what he deserved. They argued that he had no right to try and get me in trouble over something that was none of his business, and that his own actions had led to the consequences he was now facing. These coworkers were supportive of me, often offering words of encouragement or defending me when others criticized my actions. As for me, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. On one hand, I felt a sense of satisfaction that Jake was facing consequences for his actions. He had tried to humiliate me and potentially cost me my job over something that was entirely personal and separate from work. In my mind, he had brought this on himself by choosing to involve himself in my private affairs. But on the other hand, I couldn't shake a growing sense of guilt. Had I gone too far? Was it right for me to involve his wife and expose his affair, even if he had wronged me first? I had always considered myself a good person, someone who tried to do the right thing. But now, I wasn't so sure. The line between justice and revenge had become blurred, and I found myself questioning my own moral compass. The whole situation had created a tense and uncomfortable work environment. What was once a place where I felt comfortable and confident had become a battleground of whispers, judgments, and divided loyalties. I started dreading coming to work each day, wondering what new drama would unfold or what cutting remark Jake might make. As the weeks passed, I found myself reflecting more and more on the chain of events that had led to this point. I thought about the choices I had made, both in my personal life and in how I had responded to Jake's actions. I wondered if there had been a better way to handle the situation, a way that wouldn't have resulted in such chaos and division. I also started to question the boundaries between our personal and professional lives in this digital age. How much of our private lives should be open to scrutiny by our colleagues or employers? Where do we draw the line between what's acceptable and what's not when it comes to our online presence? These were questions I had never really considered before, but now they consumed my thoughts. The incident also made me reconsider my own online activities. While I still believe that what I do in my private life is my own business, I couldn't deny that it had impacted my professional life in ways I never anticipated. I found myself being more cautious about what I posted online, always aware that someone might be watching, judging, or waiting to use it against me. As for my relationship, my partners were supportive throughout the ordeal, but I could tell they were also shaken by how close my private life had come to jeopardizing my career. We had many long conversations about privacy, discretion, and the potential consequences of our lifestyle choices. While we remained committed to each other, we also became more guarded about our relationship, more careful about who we told and what we shared online. Months have passed since that fateful day when Jake discovered my online profile, but the repercussions are still being felt. The office dynamic has never quite returned to normal. Jake, now divorced and bitter, continues to work at the company, a constant reminder of the chaos that unfolded. We avoid each other as much as possible, but the tension is palpable whenever we're forced to interact. Some colleagues have moved on, seemingly forgetting about the incident, while others continue to take sides, either supporting me or Jake. HR has become more vigilant about interpersonal conflicts, often intervening at the slightest hint of tension between employees. It's clear that the entire office has been affected by what happened, not just Jake and me. As for me, I'm still grappling with the consequences of my actions. While part of me still feels justified in what I did, another part regrets the way I handled the situation. I've learned some hard lessons about the importance of maintaining professional boundaries, the potential consequences of our online presence, and the fine line between justice and revenge. I often find myself wondering what would have happened if I had chosen a different path. What if I had gone back to HR instead of taking matters into my own hands? What if I had confronted Jake directly about his behavior? What if I had simply ignored his attempt to get me in trouble and moved on with my life? These what-ifs haunt me, making me second-guess every decision I've made since then. The experience has changed me in ways I'm still trying to understand. I'm more cautious now, more aware of the potential consequences of my actions. I've become more guarded at work, less willing to share personal details or engage in friendly banter with colleagues. The carefree, open person I once was has been replaced by someone more wary, more cynical. Yet, despite all the turmoil and self-doubt, I can't deny that this experience has also made me stronger. I've learned to stand up for myself, to not let others dictate how I should live my life or what I should do in my free time. I've become more assertive in setting boundaries, both personally and professionally. As I look to the future, I'm not sure what it holds. Will I stay at this job, constantly reminded of this tumultuous period? Or will I seek out new opportunities, a fresh start where my past doesn't follow me? Will I continue to participate in the adult social media platform, or will I retreat from online spaces altogether? These are questions I'm still trying to answer. One thing is certain, though. This experience has taught me that our personal and professional lives are more intertwined than we often realize, especially in this digital age. What we do in our private time can have far-reaching consequences, affecting not just our own lives but the lives of those around us. As I continue to navigate the aftermath of this situation, I'm trying to find a balance. A balance between being true to myself and protecting my privacy. A balance between standing up for what I believe is right and considering the potential consequences of my actions. A balance between my personal life and my professional responsibilities. It's not easy, and there are days when I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water. But I'm learning, growing, and trying to become a better person through it all. If nothing else, this experience has shown me the complexity of human relationships, the power of our actions, and the importance of integrity in all aspects of our lives. As I sit here, reflecting on everything that has happened, I can't help but wonder what the future holds. Will there ever be a time when I can look back on this without feeling a twinge of regret or anger? Will Jake and I ever be able to work together without the weight of our past actions hanging over us? Will I ever feel completely comfortable in my own skin again, both at work and in my personal life? These are questions that only time can answer. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time, trying to learn from my mistakes and make better choices moving forward. It's a journey, one that I never expected to be on, but one that I'm determined to see through to the end. In the end, I hope that sharing my story might serve as a cautionary tale to others. A reminder that our actions, both online and offline, can have far-reaching consequences that we might not anticipate. A call to think carefully before we act, especially when our actions might affect others. And perhaps most importantly, a plea for understanding and compassion in a world where our personal and professional lives are increasingly intertwined. As I close this chapter of my life and look towards the future, I'm filled with a mix of apprehension and hope. Apprehension about what challenges might lie ahead, but hope that I'm now better equipped to face them. Whatever comes next, I know that I'll face it with the wisdom and strength I've gained from this experience. And maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to find peace with the choices I've made and the person I've become.